Welcome to the Kingdom Culture Podcast that was created on purpose with a purpose to empower, uplift, and guide others to the center of God's perfect will. Guys, what's up? Welcome to Kingdom Podcast. I'm here in Oregon today with my best friend from high school, Clarita. So I thought it'd be so cool to share her story on the podcast because she was born in Mexico and actually came here when she was younger. And her journey is just a big inspiration for me, and I wanted to share it with you guys as well. So, Clarita, hi, how are you? Tell the people a little bit thing about you, and then we can get started.
I'm good. We're doing good today. Like April said, we were best friends since 10th grade. When I moved to Southern High School. So we've known each other, and it's been a good 13 years.
13 years.
Yeah.
13 years.
So what else for me? I'm going to be 29 in a couple of days.
Yeah, that's why we're out here, because it's her birthday. So we decided that we were all going to come out for her birthday week and have a little get together. But yeah, 29.
Yeah.
Wow. It seems like we were just in high school doing our thing.
Like 10 years ago.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, so that's a little bit about her. And so I wanted to ask you a few questions about, your life here in the U.S., how you came here and everything else. So the first thing that I wanted to ask you was, where were you actually born?
I was born in Guanajuato, Mexico, in a small rancho there. And I grew up there until I was 7 years old. Wow. So I was born in 94, so I was 6 when we came.
6 years old when you came over?
Yeah.
Wow.
6 years old.
6 years old.
Yeah.
Kind of like me. I was 7 when I came over here. Yeah. So what are some things that you still remember from like your childhood days? Or is there anything you remember? Like, I mean, you were young, so kind of.
Yeah. I remember more because of videos and pictures, but something that I do remember is mainly just like school.
Okay.
Like school and all that stuff, like a little bit walking through like the roads or like my grandparents' houses when our house was being like built too. So I remember things like that.
Oh, so your parents were building a house out there while they were coming over here?
I don't remember if it was. I'm pretty sure they started, because when my parents first got married, they lived in my grandparents' house, or my dad's parents' house, for maybe very few. Mm-hmm. So we just had like a room there, the kitchen, like it was all kind of like small area for us. And then I think meanwhile my dad was still traveling and over here to work in the U.S.
So your dad was the first one to come over to the U.S.?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he was the first one. And with that money, then they started building like their house. So.
That's cool. Is it all built up now?
Yeah, it's all built out. Well, it's still work. Well, they did one floor. They put everything they needed. It had like 2 rooms, so it's like perfect for like us. And then recently, the last maybe 4 years, they started doing like the second level.
Oh, cool. So how does that feel to like from childhood seeing it like get built and then to now, right? Because you do visit Mexico, right? Yeah. So how often do you do that?
We try to visit since we came. I think there was only when I was still obviously in school and living with my parents. Uh-huh. There was probably only 2 years that we didn't go, 2 to 3, but we would try to go every December. But when I first got here, I was still like in elementary school, so right. Like we would go and still be over there. For like half of the school year.
Oh wow! So you went for months.
Over there, yeah. Like we would stay over there for 4 to 5 months. Come here. They were seasonal workers, so they would work. Well, not here in Michigan. Come to Michigan, and then they would work the seasonal job, like summertime migrant workers, all that stuff, farm work, and then go back to Mexico. And then that's when my dad would be building part of the house. He'd be also doing other things around that he likes to do.
That was all part of your childhood. So let me ask you another thing. School-wise. You actually were split up between Mexico and the U.S.
Yeah. Is
there a big difference?
There is a big difference. There is a big difference. I feel like education is taking it is a better educational system here. Okay. Because over there you're only in school for actually like a couple hours, and here you kind of have like whole day. You could hear what, like 7 to like, I don't even know.
7 to 30 was our
Yeah, and over there it's kind of like you start a bit later, it's more relaxed.
And you're only in one classroom, right? I remember. It's one classroom, same teacher teaches all of the stuff, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then here in the U.S., I think that was a big cultural shock for me too, because changing rooms constantly and like the bells and stuff, and having to get up and get your stuff and go to your locker. I'm just like, because in Mexico it's only like you get a break and you get out to the patio or whatever, and then you come back. Yeah. So that was a big difference.
But when you do get to like middle school though, which over there middle school starts 6th grade, then you go to la secundaria, which is 7th,
8, 9, 10.
Yeah, and then it's 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, and then 10, 11, 12 I think is in la prepa. So I only went up until la secundaria, and there the teacher switches classrooms. Oh. So like you're in the classroom, one classroom again. You don't move classrooms over there. So then the teacher comes to your classroom. Yeah.
It's split. No, that's cool. I guess I only went to school like in elementary, and then I've never gone back. But no, that's cool. And so, what would you say that the teaching styles are like? Is it different too?
I'd say I mean, it was years ago that I went, but
from what you remember, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there was different styles of teachers. You know, some teachers were like, obviously, I feel like, but then again, it also depends on the subject, because sometimes I like the certain subject. Rougher as in like the way like
the strict.
Some of them
not so much.
Yeah, some of them were more chill, like more like the students didn't really pay attention. They were, reckless.
Yeah, no, we know that.
Yeah.
In Mexico, there's a lot of.
But there was really great instructors too. Like there was a lot of really good. I remember this one teacher that was like, we did. I forget what it's called. But we did like typewriter. That was like old school, and I'm pretty sure they probably don't do that anymore. They probably are on the computer. But we would type out with a typewriter, and there was a couple of teachers that I remember that were like really nice, really.
That's
sweet.
Awesome. So let's back up a little bit. And you said you came here when you were 7. So what was your process like for that?
Like getting here?
Mm-hmm.
When I got here?
Mm-hmm.
Or como arreglamos?
Yeah, como arreglaste? Like.
Yeah, so for that, my parents got married. I'm guessing, I don't remember what year they got married. But my mom was... My mom was 24, and my dad was like 25 when they had me. So they had me, they had my sister 2 years later. We were both born in Mexico, and they got married. And my dad, I don't remember the year that the amnesty happened, but he was already working over here, so he got the opportunity to get like papers, a residency. So he applied for that, and since my parents were already married and they already had us too, that we automatically just got the residency with him.
That's so cool.
Because my dad never wanted to bring us before we got our residency.
Well, yeah, because you said he traveled back and forth to you guys, so he was doing what he was supposed to. I feel like he knew in his heart that he wanted you guys over here. Like,
and after I was born too, I don't remember if he came back or my mom said that he didn't come as often. But I do know that once we were born, he was more like hands-on because there was 2 girls now. So I think he stayed more of the time over there and then would come.
Yeah. So your dad would do like any kind of work? Did he ever talk to you about that? Like what he would do when he would go over like seasonally or no? Was it like more like farms or construction or?
He did more of like farm work.
Okay.
Farm work, because he actually came to Washington.
Okay.
So
that was going to be my next question. So
he
it's
would
like,
come to Washington.
Did he stay at one state or did he come?
No, he never went to Michigan to work, and I don't believe so. But the first time he came, I think it was like Washington, and I think he also went to like Florida a couple times.
Cool.
But they did more over here because like people that were from the rancho came to this area, so that's why they came around this area.
Isn't that crazy how like one person tells you, hey, come over here, and then that's where you end up? Like that's what happened with my family too. We had one aunt in Michigan and my mom's like, we're going over there. So
yeah. But then eventually we ended up in Michigan when we became residents because there was family that he knew over there, so that's kind of like how a lot of my rancho, people from my rancho are living in Michigan and probably like other states, but mainly it's because, they know someone. And obviously coming here and not knowing the language and everything, you want to go somewhere where you know at least someone and there's work. So he did do a lot of, we actually recently, they came to visit Oregon. in April,
Mm-hmm.
and we actually drove up to Yakima, where he remembered that he lived in the area, so we got to like explore it. They literally landed, and we're like, okay, let's just drive up there because we're already gonna be like a couple hours away. So we drove up there. We got to like try to find where he remembered that he lived, and we found like the apartment. We didn't people live there, so it's a little different now. So we didn't. We just kind of like drove by, and he has this old picture where he took a young picture where he had like a muscle shirt on, his long hair and everything. He was just like leaning against a tree, and we like recreated it because we found the exact place where he took it. So that was pretty cool because I guess when he would talk to my mom about it, when he would come in the area, and he said, one day I'll take you, and it finally happened. I don't know if it would have happened if I wouldn't have lived over here, you know?
Yeah, no,
it
that's
probably
cool.
like the chances would have been probably slim.
Right, and so then, your process was through an amnesty. We talked about that. We don't know what it's called or what year it was. That's fine.
What year.
But the good thing is that your whole family had that opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so your mom and your sister, your one sister at the time, because now you have three, were able to, get over here, get settled in, and live in Michigan. So another thing, when you finally were like, okay, cool, your parents said we're gonna make a living here, was it a big culture shock for you?
Well, I came here when I was second grade. I think I probably just started my second grade over there in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And then we came here, and based off the language barrier, they like pushed me back to first grade.
Okay.
And it was a culture shock. I think it was tougher on me because my sister, she was starting kindergarten, so she stayed in kindergarten. We're 2 years apart. So technically there was a 2-year. I was second grade, she was going to start kindergarten. But we ended up 1 year difference because of the pushback. So that's not fair.
They were in high school. Yeah, she was right behind us.
Yeah, which was kind of cool though. We kind of got like right next to each other. So that was nice.
And we were in the same soccer team.
We got to be in college a couple years together, so that's good.
Cool.
But when I came here, it was a culture shock, for sure. And I think it was tougher on me because my sister, she was kindergarten, so what would it do? Just play around?
Yeah.
What do you do in kindergarten? So for me,
color.
it was more like, first grade, you're already learning different things. And I think since I didn't understand the language, I would cry. Like my mom would drop me off, and she would drop me off like crying. And I think it was for a couple months, like that it was like that. Like I would just be in the room, and my teacher, I don't remember her name anymore, but she was she was never really like a tough teacher. Like some teachers would not be understanding of that situation, but she would just let me cry it out, be in my own corner. But I remember my classmates too would like try to talk to me, and I would be like, I wouldn't understand. I've never been the type of person that's mean, to be like, so I would just kind of keep to myself, cry. At some point, I don't know if I think it's just that I started kind of talking to my classmates, and my mom remembers this one little morenito guy that would just come up to me, and she remembers what he looks like. I don't remember. I have pictures.
Okay.
And that he's always next to me, and he was trying to talk to me. He had curly hair, and I was like, I kind of remember it when she would tell me about it. But she would just be like, oh yeah, he'd always try to talk to you. And there was also a couple Hispanics that were in my class. And I think I just kind of was like, okay, got over the crying at some point and the culture shock, and I just started getting involved and engaged. And
do you remember how you learned English, or was it just because you were in school? I
think at first grade you're so grasping everything that it was easy. I just kind of learned it.
Somebody had to give me a tutor. And
I'm pretty sure I had how you have ESL teachers when you don't know the language. So I had that, and then plus just kind of just talking to the students.
The funny part is that I took English classes in Mexico, but when I came here, I didn't know any of it. Somebody told me, hello.
Oh yeah, English in Mexico is different.
And I said, huh? And the teacher, I had my name tag here, and I remember he said, and read my name off, and I was like, I have no idea what you're saying. And I was like, but that's so true. I feel like for me as well, I can relate to that, because when I came here, I was like, I know nobody. I had no idea what's going on, and it was a big, and then because I didn't come to Michigan, so I had two big culture shocks, okay? Because I lived in Texas first, but in Texas, a lot of our Hispanics are over there, so you get a lot of Tex-Mex and like Spanish with English. But coming to Michigan, that was another thing because I was like in 5th grade, and I wasn't really a talkative person either, you know. So in Texas, I was just like, I didn't make a lot of friends. Came over to Michigan, and it was totally different in Texas. It's like a whole new 360 too. Yeah. And people were talking about totally the pop magazines, you know, those, I don't know what you call them now, but like the pop magazines, they're talking about like the NSYNC people, Justin Timberlake, and I'm like, who are all these people? Like, I have no idea what they're talking about. Yeah. And my English wasn't at 100% yet either. Yeah. So I had to like slow down, start over. It's lonely at first, I feel like. Do you agree with that? Like,
it's tough. I mean, you are used to this whole culture in Mexico. It's different. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. And if you don't, you need to know.
What take you there?
And it's so different. And you know, you're going through like growing up, 6, 7 years old. What is that? You're still growing up. You're still figuring out everything. You're barely starting school. Yeah. And then I come here and I have to do different language, different food.
Oh yeah, the food. Different. So did
you can't. We lived in the city. We came when we got here. We lived with my dad's youngest brother in Battle Creek.
Oh, Battle Creek.
So they lived in a city. So I mean, Mexico's, you're free to go anywhere. You're good. You can walk everywhere. And in the city, I mean, there was parks like down the road, which was nice, but it's not like you can drive to the store or go to like tiendita or anything like that. So it's more like you were more like enclosed. And I think my mom also felt that as well, and I'm pretty sure they all did.
So do you feel like your parents were more protective here than in Mexico? As far as like letting you guys be out?
I feel like at first for sure, like here. We were young, so I didn't even really think about that. I didn't want to go anywhere, honestly. Like by myself, probably. I was still young.
I'm gonna get lost.
As far as like protective, I feel like they're protective in both.
Okay. It's just part of our culture, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you can have a drink. Wow, yeah, that's crazy. Do you remember the first time you ever had fast food, American fast food?
Oh, we were in love with McDonald's. We would call it.
McDonald's was
my mom says, I don't remember this, but she said that we want to go to Las Puertitas, which is like the McDonald's. Like we call it Puertitas. But before they used to have like the big M at the entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's all I remember. I don't know if my parents. I remember getting a little older. We would go a lot to Burger King. Okay. My parents loved their burgers. Until this day, they still love their burgers.
Whoppers?
Yeah, the Whoppers. And we would just get like the chicken little strips or the chicken sandwiches.
Yeah.
Now I definitely go for the Whopper instead of the chicken because I'm
we're grown up now. That's not enough food, man. And us Mexicans, we get chicken. I don't know if it happened to you, but my mom be filling up my plate like if I was 2 people.
Oh yeah, they still do that. Yeah.
No, that's cool. So McDonald's and BK. I don't think I can remember.
I think that's like the top 2 flavors. Or Chinese food.
Chinese food? Oh yeah, the buffets.
Yeah, like the buffets, but I don't remember like really gravitating towards that when I was younger.
And I feel like because our moms can cook, they probably cooked a lot at home, and your dad probably still loved his homemade meals rather than
Well, not only that, but like when we came, I mean they didn't have anything, so we were making whatever we could. Sometimes my mom would stay with us full time at home at first, and my dad would only be the one making money. So trying to save up for like to move to our own place and all that. I'm sure it was.
Was it tough living with other people? Did you know them?
No, that was my first time meeting them.
Let's talk about that. How'd that feel? Do you remember?
It was nice. I remember my tia being very welcoming. My tia is half Mexican, half American. I think she also has American in her. But she was very welcoming. Until this day, like we still see them. They come over and visit. We go to their house, and like she's very sweet. She's always been very like open arms.
That's awesome. That's different than mine. I mean, you know my story, but we're here to talk about you. So
my tio's also like very.
Did you have cousins or anything?
They have. Well, when we first came, I think she only had 1 daughter. I don't remember because they're younger than me. They're probably like in between. Right now, she's probably like 21 already, like the oldest, and then from then they kind of had different age kids.
because our cousins are everything.
So there was no little kids, not that I remember, like family-wise around.
At least you had your sister, right?
Yeah, I had my sister.
So that's great. Yeah, no, I had one cousin. One cousin that was a girl, and then the other ones were younger and were two boys. And I remember from when, because we lived in Maitea too, like we, started from zero. My mom was a single mom of 5, so we had to move in with somebody. At first it was weird because I had never met them like that. And but yeah, after a while, I feel like it's just in our culture to love and like to be welcoming and like be so, what's the word? I don't know, welcoming and just great and opening, and like we help each other up, and like that's the beautiful part of us. Like we help each other build up, and I don't think a lot of other people can understand what that means, And it's not like we do it because we know that you're gonna owe us something later, but it's because of who we are as a culture, right? So that's cool.
Yeah.
So now you've gone through high school here and everything else, and you go back and visit, right? But do you feel like you've been Americanized at all? Do you feel like there's habits or things that you no longer do that you would probably still do if you were full-time in Mexico? Is there some stuff that, has changed mindset-wise or anything like that?
Since we would go back and spend like school there up until like I was
2 to 3 months.
Yeah, so I remember feel like that really kept me like
winter
stuck
breaks.
to my roots.
Gotcha. Yeah. Our winter breaks, you'd be like, I'm gonna be gone for a month, and I'm like, okay, bye.
Gone for longer. We'll be back to finish the year.
So that was different because I thought, because I never went back to Mexico.
Oh, no, when I met you already though, like that was already 10th, 11th, so we actually only went for a month.
Gotcha. Yeah. But I've never been back. I got here in 2001 and I've not been back to Mexico, but you have. And so sorry, I cut you off. You were talking about how that kept you in your roots.
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
Yeah, so going back and just being around my family over there that aren't able to come over here, so I feel like that really kept me connected with them. And even when I went only for like a month, my cousins that were growing up the same age as me, like when all the social media came up, that was nice because then we were able to see each other apart from just like physically in Mexico. So that really helped going to Mexico, and I don't know, it's just in the blood. It's just in the heart. Like, it's just something that's in me. Like, it would never be able to go away. Yeah.
What's one of the favorite things you guys did when you were in Mexico and you would go back and forth? Because you guys would go like around the holidays. So I hear there's big fiestas over there with fireworks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, El Día 8 en el Rancho, that's the day that we have our jaripeo and baile, and there's a lot of stuff going on the day. So that was... We would usually be over there for that day, so that was fun. But when I was younger, when we first came over here, I was still younger, so I didn't really go to like the bailes and all that stuff. But getting older then, bailes and being more like with going out and all that stuff.
So how old were you when you were doing all that?
Probably when I hit like 15 is when I would go with my tias that were my dad's sister, youngest sister. She would be like muchacha already, like 20-something, in her 20s. And I would be 15 and I'd be like, I want to go with her. And my dad at first was like, But then eventually, like, I started going with her for like an hour, and like in the evenings when they would go out to the Jardín and stuff. And I'd go for like an hour, and then eventually they just started going older, and then she got married, so then I would go with myself and with my sister,
So let me ask you this. 15 years old. Now let's bring it back to the U.S., right? Mm-hmm. We know that the party scene is what here? 18 to 25?
Yeah.
If anything, it's like if you wanted... Were you like that in college or no? Did you go out, or did you enjoy the Mexico scene more?
Both.
You enjoyed both?
But I feel like in college, I went out normal. I wasn't partying every day. I feel like it was a good balance. And then in Mexico, same thing though. Like, I don't really go out every single day, because you can go party every single day in both places. But no, I don't know. I feel like I have a good balance. I'm not like too much of a partier, but not. Oh no, I'm like a homebody. I'm never going out. So I feel like I have a good balance.
Which scene do you like better?
Which, like, what do you mean, Mexico or here? They both have.
So what's something different, right? Because I've partied here in the U.S., but I've never like been in the scene of like jaripeos. And here in Michigan you have some, but it's not the same, because over there in Mexico it's a huge thing. and it could go on forever.
Yeah.
So, what
It's
did you enjoy
different.
more?
I think the environment is just different
Mhm.
because over there, like if you have jaripeos, then you have the bailes and all that stuff is kind of like an all afternoon day thing. I mean, here the same thing. I think I feel like as time has gone by, at least where we live, they've gotten closer. I haven't been to a jaripeo in like an area that they opened up and they started making jaripeos like around where we live.
There's a jaripeo in Texas in March.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Do they look?
That we're trying
What
to
about
go to.
Texas compared to Mexico? Are they the same? They're probably different.
They're different.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And I'm from Matamoros, right? So I'm right, like, from the city. So growing up in the valley in Texas, it kind of had some similarities, but it's definitely different. We were a suburban family, before my mom got her divorce, and in Mexico, like, we came from a poor little place. So to me, it was like wow. Like, that whole mindset of, like, people come to the U.S. because there's money here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was real. And then that was in Texas. But when we came here to Michigan, my mom had to start from zero. I kind of went back to my childhood, and I'm like, it wasn't like I was affected by it, like, because I was little, and my mom made sure that we had everything we needed, but like the whole waiting for things, because there was 5 of us, so like I was the last one of everything.
Mm-hmm.
So having to wait for like a candy bar or things like that. And in Mexico, my grandmother was the one raising us, 2 of us, so it was kind of the same. But if I say the atmosphere of it, yeah, it's different, because I don't think I would have walked to a store by myself or worked at a store. I worked at a store, like a tiendita del ¿cómo se dice? La tiendita de la esquina.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at one when I was in Mexico, when I was 4, 5. And here in the U.S., my mom, there's no way she would have let me work that young.
That's true.
The La tiendita estaba like 2 blocks from our house, so my grandma was like, oh yeah, we'll work over there.
Yeah.
And it was just giving people like their stuff. It wasn't like hard work at all either.
Yeah.
I think that's another difference. Like, I would feel safer in Mexico than here to go out in the nighttime, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't been there in forever, and things have changed in Mexico and have gotten a little bit more dangerous, and all those things. But yeah, I can't wait till I can go visit.
Yeah, you'll see it. I think it's gonna be different for sure.
So that's another thing, right? Like, did your pueblo at all change or grew or what as you went back and forth through the years?
It has changed. I think, yeah, it has changed. Not much though. Our traditions and everything is still there. I think you just see it like in a different perspective, just because you obviously are getting older, so you just are able to do different things. So it's kind of like impossible to say that it's not going to change because you see it from a different age.
Gotcha. No,
But
well,
it's still like the best
geographical.
place, my favorite place ever.
Yeah, no, because I went to visit my aunt recently, and she was talking about how Ciudad Victoria has been expanding and growing, and they say it's totally different. You would never recognize it. And she made a joke, and she was like, "Remember la tiendita que ibas por las tortillas?"
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, I think I could remember, but I probably won't. The only thing that I remember from walking that distance was that there was a big brick wall. It was blue, and it had a fence on the top. You know how they have that in Mexico? They
Yeah.
have like a brick wall de cemento, and then they have and then it was blue, and then there was a big old tree that got hit by lightning once, and it kept like a thing on it.
Uh-huh.
And so that's how I remember that I had to turn left, and that the tiendita was right there.
Like little landmarks.
But she said that it's totally different. So she made that joke of like, I don't think you'll remember to go back and like from your grandma's house to
Like how to get there?
Yeah.
I mean, that's true though. I think it has gotten more resourceful because they even are like in a rancho back then. Like obviously you saw they started with like rock streets and then cement and then housing and
Right.
brick housing and all that stuff, and then now there's like Wi-Fi. So I mean, I feel like it is going up. So hopefully it keeps growing.
Yeah, I mean that's what we want. Right?
And houses too. I feel like a lot of people from the U.S., even if they aren't able to visit as often, they kind of try to make their own house. So that's been growing as well.
You know, now that you say that, that's true, because I have this coworker that is married to a Hispanic lady, and they were talking about how she wanted to go and retire in Mexico, so they send money down to build their house. And that's so cool. I feel like that's awesome. That's a resource that they're able to have to be able to build, down there. And probably something bigger than here because as we know,
It's expensive.
it's expensive over here.
But things are kind of getting expensive over there too.
Are they?
Sometimes, certain things. Not as expensive as here, but it is compared to like back then.
Before.
Yeah.
And I think that's with everything, right? Currencies and changing and governments and rules.
For sure.
And anything like that.
Yeah.
The Mexican person who cracks me up talking about abrazos y besos. But cool. So you've been here a lot, your parents have actually grown up here too. So do you think that living in the US has changed some of your guys' mindsets? Let's start with yours. Let's pick a topic. Something that you see a lot in Mexican households, like the role of the women. Let's talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Let's talk with your mom or parents. Do you think they've actually changed their mindsets growing up here in the U.S. too, or no? Do you feel like you grew up in a strict household, or do you think you had a little bit more freedom? I mean, you guys were all girls, so I guess you can't really compare to what it would be like if you had boys around, but let's talk about that. Do you think?
I'd say it was, it was strict. My parents have always been more on the strict side, and I don't think it's changed much from like my little sisters because no.
Well, I mean, but to be honest, I
a little
think
bit.
so.
It has changed
Because
but they're still strict. But it has changed, and I mean, I feel like it has to change. Like you can't be stuck in a culture that you're not like living there full time. You kind of have to find a way to be like a medium between both because it's unfair for my sisters and me. Also, I grew up. I've lived here most of my life now.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was unfair to like be like no, like we're gonna still. You can't do this, and it's like no, you're growing up with people and in a different culture. You're both, you're dual citizen of both cultures. So,
do you think that your little sisters have it easier than you guys did? Now that time has
I mean, my
passed?
parents were a little bit more financially stable off. That my mom was able to work now after they started school, and between us, she was also working. But I think they're in a better place, and obviously things change between. I see the differences. Obviously, when we were my sister and I, and then now my two little sisters, they're like already.
They're big.
It's a little easier.
They're big.
I think it's a little
now,
easier. It's a little different, and I feel like I try to make things easier. If they don't let them do something, I mean, like it's fine. Like
so
their generation is different. I try to be. It's kind of hard to do it too because I'm like, no, you didn't let me do this. Like, don't let them do that. But then I think about it and I'm like, no, like I want them to be more open
to thrive.
And I feel like my parents have been more open to just different things. And I think it also helped when we got older because we were able to help them with anything as far as like taking my sisters out to do something different that my parents didn't get to do because they were working with us. So things like that. I think it's different.
That's awesome. And it's so heartwarming to hear you say that, like, I get to see that, because we're all very close in age, and my mom was always just working, I tell you all the time, like, she missed choir concerts, she missed our soccer games, she missed everything because she had to work. So we grew up different, completely different, right? But there was still some things that you shared with me that, you said that your parents will do now, that but I have like coming here to Oregon to visit you said there was no way back then that they would have gotten on a plane and flew. So it's so cool to just hear the growth of actually being able to have resources and a better lifestyle and be open-minded because like you did it, like you moved. And they probably did not think that you and Luz, because Luz doesn't live in Michigan anymore, would move.
Well, she is now in Detroit.
Oh,
recently.
Like
this last year. She was in Ohio.
That she would move outside of your home, right? Because I think our culture is we're all going to stick in a little same pod, and that's where we grew up together. All my brothers and sisters live really close by. I'm the one, me and my other older brother, one before me, are the ones that are like, we're still in Michigan, but we're a little bit farther out, So it's kind of cool to see how our parents have also adapted to the U.S. and have found better ways to live and not think about just working and providing, right? Like they're allowed to have fun. They're allowed to do different things, and we're grown up now, so we're like, hey, come here, let's take you to a cool place here that we found, and it's nothing dangerous, right? We're not gonna take them doing crazy stuff, but it's just heartwarming to me, and you have your whole family to share it with, and your little sisters are literally experiencing both too, right? Because they still went back and forth in Mexico too, but they lived more over here, obviously, right? And school-wise and everything else.
Yeah, I think, I mean, my parents are, I don't know, I'm grateful. They were very strict and all that, but I see, I understand now that I'm older, why, and the reasoning. There could have been obviously different ways, but I won't know, until I'm a parent. But there's something that I do know is that my dad would be obviously the one working, and when he would try to make it, because I did when I go in middle school and high school, I started doing cross and track and soccer, so getting more involved, and my mom would be the one that would try to come, or she'd get off work to drive us, so that's something that never stopped my mom, and because you could see yours, like you said, yours didn't attend certain things, or maybe she wouldn't have gotten off work to lose that hour of work to go take you, and
it wasn't a priority.
Yeah, that, and my mom, that was a priority. That's always been a priority. She would do anything. Yeah,
she's super mom. Yeah, and I love my mom. I feel like my mom just didn't have the flexibility because it was just her.
She was doing what she could.
Right, and
they did what they could.
And it gave me a beautiful desire to work as hard as she does. It's just a mindset that you just grow up in. It's just like, hey, you know what? I want to do that. So here we go. And now, we're all grown up. We're all very successful people, and I can change anything. I mean, I wanted her around, but I had to understand that she was working, because I even started working when I was 12. So we all started working when we were younger, and that's a whole nother topic. But I don't think you had to work when you were that young. Right, because your parents were like, no, you guys are going to go to school. You guys are here to go to school. You're going to get a good education and have a better future.
My parents made it a priority, school. Yeah. And till we were in college, it was always a priority. They were like, no, even during college, they would always be like, no, you don't work. And I'm like, no, I want to do something on campus, something that's, I don't have to drive. If I don't have a car, it's fine. I can just work on campus. Good 8 to 10 hours a week. That's enough for me to pay for if I want to go out to eat, or I don't know, get something.
So they didn't want you working in college either? Wow.
No, not really, because they were like, just focus on going to school. Cool. And then the summer I would go back home and then work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that part. I thought, wow.
When I go home, they give me $20 for gas or certain things. But
take care of us, yeah.
I never been the type to ask my parents for anything. And even when they offered it to me, I was like, no, I have enough. It's fine. I don't need gas money. I work, this.
I got my own little
savings,
Yeah, no, that's awesome though.
Yeah.
And how hard, loving they are, because they knew, and they knew that you wanted to get a good education and do all that stuff. So that's awesome. So would you ever consider going back to Mexico to live full time?
Full time?
Even for a few years?
Oh, for a few years, yeah. If I say I needed to go for something, or if I wanted to go live out there for a couple of years, I would do it.
What about when you have kids? Would you?
Yeah, I've talked about that. Thought about it. I would probably do kind of the same thing that, how would it be with kids? I would want them to go have the experience that I did, going to school. If I did, I'd talk to my mom about I'm gonna send you with your grandkids, and you can take them over there to school for a little bit, and then just send them back and stuff like that. But I don't know. We'll see how it is when I have kids. But I definitely would want to go travel there as much as I could.
To give them the experience. This is where your mommy came from, bro. This is what you do.
They just have to. It's just they need to.
I want that for AB so bad.
Yeah,
but,
like,
you know,
I would
like,
never take them the opportunity to learn, get to know the culture, because it's going to help them in the future.
I feel like it's beautiful too. Our culture is so beautiful.
Being bilingual is like the best thing.
Yeah.
And even if they don't even have to go to school for it. They just know it. They just grow up with it. Like, it's a must. Like, why would I take that away from them?
Yes. And, you know, us in our household now, we don't speak any English to AB.
Yeah.
Because we wanted him to grasp Spanish first. We wanted him to have Spanish as his first language.
That's
We
good.
talked about it when I was pregnant, you know, and we know that he's going to learn English in school. I'm like, it happened with me. He's going to be smaller, so he's going to just
You'll figure it out. Maybe
run.
you'll struggle for a little bit, but, you know, you'll figure it out. Same thing.
Yeah, so, you know, but that was a question that I wanted to ask him. Like, so when you have kids, though, like, what is your mindset behind, you know, if you wanted to, because you're going to have that opportunity, and you did that. So it's not like, oh, no, I can't, you know. And with me, like, you know, my husband is Puerto Rican, so we were thinking of, like, splitting, like, going to PR first and having maybe, like, be out where he was from, and then take him to Mexico when things aren't as crazy where I'm from. But it's a big dream for me for him to have to actually be in Mexico, and for myself to go back and check it out. And like I tell you all the time when you're over there, I'm like, dude, we gotta go there when I'm able to, because we're gonna have a fun time. But it's just beautiful. Like where you guys are from is beautiful, and I'm like, I love the wilderness, and it's like wherever people are from, because Mexico is huge.
Oh yeah.
It's like there's something different every single time. And like even the way that we speak, the way that we say our Spanish sometimes is different. Our tones are different. You know, our foods are different, even from little like different places and stuff. So I'm hoping that I can, you know, go back and experience Mexico like 100%, because it's in my heart too. It's in my roots. I'm like always attending like events and stuff that are like from our culture back at home, and trying to learn more, because I was here most of the time, right? So I do feel like going back to that, are you Americanized? I feel like there's more, you know, because like
you haven't been exposed to it though, you know. But it's you want to be though.
Yeah.
Like you see people that wouldn't want to be.
Okay.
So.
Yes. So and I find it so cool, you know, and growing up and being best friends with you, like I kind of got to see it, how you guys would go to Mexico and like you would experience, and I would ask you a bunch of questions. I'm like, so how is it? What do you do? Like super curious mind, but that's one of my dreams, y'all, to go back and go visit where she's from, and we're gonna do a whole Mexico thing, and we're just gonna pray about that and let the Lord do what He must, right? But that's so cool. So. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome though, and you know, it's going to be, it's a lifestyle thing of forever, you know, whether it be with your kids and then their kids, and then, you know, generations after generations, and if your parents built a house over there, it's just gonna keep passing on, and that's so cool, right? Like that's what I think about. I'm like, the generations to come, like what do I want to teach them from our culture, from where we're actually from, you know, and how we want to carry that out. So that's awesome that you're thinking of like sending them off. Go to school over there. No les pegues con la regla. Did that ever happen to you?
No.
I had one of my teachers did that to me in my hand, because I threw you know how they had the chalkboards?
Oh yeah.
Like the big old chalkboards,
yeah.
and then they had the erasers. So I threw one at one kid one time because he took my pencil, and she literally was like, and I was like, I never misbehaved ever.
Traumatized. No, that never happened to me. Maybe because I was like I was doing my thing, you know. I've always been focused in school. I've always never got in trouble or suspended.
You know, but I think that's because I didn't have enough attention growing up either, because my grandmother was raising both of us, and it was just her. My dad wasn't really in the picture, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the whole cycle of us growing up by ourselves, like, was real for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it was different, but I don't think I would change it, because I've learned so much, and I've learned to like appreciate people more, and want to like make sure that they know that I'm there and things like that, right? But that's also a different conversation of like, so how did you actually grow up though? Right? Because there's different households. Like I tell her this all the time. I say like their family was the very first family that I got to see that was Hispanic, that was a healthy united family, you know, because in our culture you do have a lot of single dads, single moms,
Yeah.
broken marriages.
They've been a good example.
And yeah, so I would always go sleep over at her house. Her mom, she's got my heart. And she was just very welcoming. They were all just very, very welcoming. And I remember our sleepovers, and I remember, you know, she's like, "Are you hungry? Do you want something to drink? Here you go. What time are you guys going to sleep? Don't keep her up too late." Like, she was just constantly like feeding into me, you know. And even today, I still have a good relationship with your mom. You know, I would go visit her mom when she wasn't here in college or wherever she was, or when she even came over here to Oregon. But it's just beautiful, and this is also a great example of like a great friendship of like years and built on it, and like having that whole same culture, and like having, you know, having us just grow up together like with the same things. But yeah. So I have one more question for you, okay? And this is how I'm going to end every podcast with interviews. And what is one piece of advice you'd give someone who's a migrant or somebody that's, you know, maybe struggling here in the U.S. or just in general, like that has some type of background that you can relate to or anything like that? A piece of advice that, you know, you've carried with you throughout this whole time, through your journey here, you know, till this point.
Yeah. I would say everyone's journey coming here is different.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's really important to just be open-minded. It's easier said than done, but open-minded. You know, you do adapt to the culture, and it does have its beautiful things. Just like anyone who maybe was born here, like an American, but they have Mexican roots, and you go over there, you know, be open-minded to anything that you do. I think that's like a big thing.
Right.
Being open-minded, and also just ask for help. Like, there's resources, you know, if you know someone. I think that's important, because me being example is me like going to college. I was the first one of the family to go.
Yeah. Wow.
And you just have to talk to people, get to know people. You never know who you're gonna meet, so just talk to people, get to know them, be open to help, be open-minded, and all of that.
Wow.
Just enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Yeah, I didn't go to college, so I don't know what that is like either.
Mm-hmm.
So you're the first one in your family to go.
Yeah, I was the first one.
My brother Americo was the first one.
Yeah.
Did he finish? I don't even remember, but he was the very first one to go. I didn't go to college because that just wasn't for me, but wow, you were the first one. So you were asking questions, doing things.
Don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not the social butterfly, super bubbly all that person, but I'm just open to things and learning.
And your experiences and things like that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Knowledge is power.
And if you apply it, it works.
Yeah, but even if you don't, I use the college example because I went to college, but even if you don't go to college, like everything in life is just learning. Even if you go a different route, if you do trade school, if you don't, if you just go straight into like any other job that you want to do, fast food, it doesn't even matter. Like, you're just still learning, and it's just the process of learning and all of that.
Love that.
Yeah.
So,
and also stay in touch with your roots.
Yes.
Yeah. There's so many ways of learning your roots and staying in touch with them, even if you don't go to Mexico, even if you are not around your family 24/7, or.
Yeah, for me it was the food.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a foodie, y'all. If you don't know that, you're gonna find out. But yeah, for me it was the food. My mom always just like made homemade food. Like I don't remember like her, obviously because we didn't have the funds for it, but she always just made sure that she had her food. Like, she had her favorite foods, and then on the weekends, because we didn't have school, she'd like cook certain meals on certain weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like the migas. It's my favorite food, breakfast food, with some queso fresco and frijoles, and she would always make tortillas de harina a mano.
Oh,
so
yes.
I'm like, oh. Even today when she does it, I'm like, thank you, Mom. I feel spoiled, because it brings me back to my childhood.
It's just that food that just, you go
Stay
back.
in your roots. I love that, because it's beautiful. It's who you are. It's you were born in Mexico. And I think that even with like the language barrier, because I forget some of my Spanish sometimes, and I feel more comfortable, now speaking it in Spanish more than I was when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, stick to your roots.
I think also something else is just, I just thought about this, like not feeling guilty for wanting to learn the American culture and all that, because you know, like sometimes you leave Mexico and your rancho and your people, and they're like, oh, like they changed, they're gonna feel like this, or you know, like, and it's not like that. You know, you live here, so it's not your fault. You know, just get the best out of it and get to learn it. Don't feel guilty. Like people are gonna be people, you know, but they're just hating now. But just embrace it, and don't feel bad. You know, Mexico's there. Your culture's always there.
That's
It don't
awesome.
matter. Everyone's different. Everyone keeps connected to the roots different. So
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. This was a wonderful conversation, and hopefully we get to have you back on.
I know.
All right.
For sure. Let's
See
do
you
it.
guys later.